0730 hours. USS Valiant, Philippine Sea. The ready room smelled of coffee, cigarette smoke, and loss, not the sharp smell of recent tragedy, the accumulated smell of months. 11 empty chairs in Air Group 12. 11 pilots who had climbed into Grumman F-6F Hellcats and never climbed out. 11 sets of personal effects shipped home in cardboard boxes. 11 letters Commander Marcus Thornton had written to families he would never meet. Lieutenant Marcus Webb, 26 years old, shot down over Formosa on October 3rd. His wife was 7 months pregnant. The telegram arrived before their son was born. She named the boy Marcus. The child would never know his father's face except in photographs. Ensign Tommy Caldwell, 21, killed during the Manila strikes on September 21st. His mother received the Western Union telegram on his birthday. She kept it in a drawer with his high school diploma and his Navy wings. The ink faded over the years. The pain did not. Lieutenant Commander Robert Harris, 32, 3 kids, missing after the Taiwan raids on October 12th, never found, never recovered, just gone. His wife waited 6 months before accepting the death certificate. His youngest daughter was 4. She did not understand why Daddy was not coming home. Marcus Thornton sat at the long briefing table, 34 years old, dark hair going gray at the temples, lines around his eyes from squinting into Pacific sunlight, a wedding ring on his left hand that he twisted absently when he thought about home, which was often, too often. He held a fountain pen. The Navy provided cream-colored stationery for letters home. Expensive paper, thick, the kind meant to last, the kind that mothers kept in drawers for decades. "My dearest Kate," he had written. The pen stopped. What do you say to your wife when tomorrow is not promised? What words carry the weight of love across 5,000 miles of ocean and war? What sentence contains 6 years of marriage, a daughter named Grace, a house in Virginia with a white picket fence, and the desperate hope that you will see them again? Thornton had written this letter 100 times in his mind, had composed perfect paragraphs during long patrols over empty ocean, had crafted eloquent phrases at 20,000 feet with nothing but sky in thought. But now, with pen on paper, the words would not come. If you're reading this, then I didn't make it home. I want you to know. He stopped, crossed it out, started again. Grace will be 7 next month. Tell her I love her. Tell her Daddy was thinking about her birthday. Tell her. The words stuck. How do you compress a lifetime of love into one paragraph? How do you say goodbye to a daughter who still believes her father is invincible? The ready room speaker crackled. Air Group Commander to Flight Operations. Air Group Commander to Flight Operations. Immediate. Thornton folded the unfinished letter. 3 lines. Not enough. Never enough. He placed it in the breast pocket of his khaki flight suit. The paper crinkled against his chest, close to his heart, where it would stay. He stood, walked through the ready room, past the empty chairs, past the bulletin board with photographs of young men frozen forever at 23, 25, 28. Boys with confident smiles who had truly believed that death happened to other people. None of them had expected to die. None of them ever do. The heat hit him like a wall when he stepped onto the flight deck. 85 degrees, 0730 hours. The sun was already climbing. The Philippine Sea stretched in all directions. Blue water under pale sky. Beautiful. Deadly. Indifferent to human drama. USS Valiant steamed northeast at 22 knots. Essex-class aircraft carrier. 898 feet long. 27,000 tons. Crew of 3,000 men. Home to Air Group 12. Home to Marcus Thornton for 7 months. 7 months of continuous combat operations. Marshall Islands, Truk, Saipan, Guam, Tinian, Palau, Formosa, the Philippines, island hopping across the Pacific, carrier strikes against Japanese installations, air superiority missions, ground attack, interdiction, the endless rhythm of launch, fight, land, rearm, repeat, 211 combat sorties, 25 confirmed kills, more missions than most pilots flew in their entire careers, more kills than most aces achieved in 2 years. And every sortie was another roll of the dice, another bet against mathematics, another test of luck. Thornton's luck had held. So far, the flight deck was organized chaos. Plane handlers in blue jerseys spotting aircraft, ordnance crews in red loading bombs and rockets, fuel crews in purple running hoses, the rainbow of specialists that made carrier operations possible. 7 Hellcats were spotted forward, engines running, propellers turning, Pilots climbing into cockpits. Only 7. The radar operator sprinted toward Thornton across the deck. Petty Officer Second Class Brennan, 22 years old. Nebraska kid, pale face, eyes wide. Sir, we have bogeys, 60-plus contacts, bearing 270, range 22 miles, closing at 200 knots. Thornton's stomach dropped. 60 aircraft. The Japanese had thrown everything they had at the American task force. Operation Shogo. Victory Operation. Their last desperate gamble to destroy the invasion fleet at Leyte Gulf. Every available plane from the airfields around Manila. Mitsubishi A-6M Zeros. Aichi D-3A Val dive bombers. Nakajima B-5N Kate torpedo planes. Mixing Navy and Army aircraft. Veterans and recruits. The experienced and the expendable. All of them heading here. Composition, Thornton's voice was steady. Command voice, the voice that did not reveal the cold fear spreading through his chest. Best estimate, 40 fighters, 20 dive bombers. Standard strike package. The bombers were the real threat. One 500-pound bomb through the wooden flight deck would kill hundreds. Would cripple flight operations. Would turn a carrier into a floating crematorium. But the 40 fighters would massacre any American aircraft that tried to attack those bombers. How many Hellcats ready to launch? Brennan checked his clipboard. 7, sir. Everything else is refueling or rearming. 7. The tactical manual was clear on this point. Never engage when outnumbered more than 3 to 1. Wait for reinforcements. Coordinate with adjacent carrier groups. Maintain numerical superiority before committing forces to action. The Japanese had 9 to 1 numerical superiority. The manual said this was suicide, but the manual was written by men in Washington who had never watched a carrier burn. Time to contact. 6 minutes, sir. Maybe 7 if they hold current speed. 6 minutes. 360 seconds. Enough time to launch 7 fighters. Not enough time to arm and fuel the remaining 30 aircraft parked on the hangar deck below. Thornton looked across the flight deck. 7 Hellcats, 7 pilots strapping in. He knew them all, had flown with them, had trained them, had written condolence letters for the ones who did not come back. Lieutenant Robert Hayes, 28, married, no kids yet but trying. Good pilot, steady hands, clear head. Lieutenant William Johnson, 25, engaged to a girl in San Diego, planning a wedding for next spring. Optimistic, maybe too optimistic. Lieutenant Roger Kinney, 29, quiet, methodical. 3 years as a flight instructor before requesting combat duty. His students called him Professor. Lieutenant James Patterson, 24, Texas kid, loud, confident, 13 confirmed kills. One of the best stick and rudder pilots in the air group. Ensign Thomas Rogers, 23, fresh from training, only 40 combat hours. Still learning, still making rookie mistakes, but brave, always brave. And Ensign Roy Whitmore, 24 years old, Nebraska farm boy like Brennan. Blonde hair that stuck up no matter how much water he used. Blue eyes that belonged in a Norman Rockwell painting. The kind of face that made you think of cornfields and county fairs and simple American goodness. Whitmore had been Thornton's wingman for 2 months. 63 combat sorties together. 3 confirmed kills. Not the highest score in the air group, but consistent, reliable. The kind of pilot who followed orders and brought his aircraft home. More than that, Whitmore was a good man. Wrote letters to his parents every Sunday. Sent half his pay home to help with the farm. Talked about going back after the war. Marrying his high school sweetheart. Raising kids. Living a quiet life far from ocean and violence. Thornton walked to his Hellcat. Bureau number 70143. Navy blue paint, white stars on the wings. 25 kill markings on the fuselage. 25 small Japanese flags hand-painted by the maintenance crew. Each one a life taken. Each one a memory. Chief Petty Officer Kowalski was performing final checks. 50 years old, gray hair, weathered face, hands that had maintained carrier aircraft since before Thornton learned to fly. Too experienced to retire. Too valuable to lose. Kowalski looked up, saw Thornton approaching. Read his face. How many, Commander? 60 inbound, 40 fighters, 20 dive bombers. Kowalski's jaw tightened. He had been through this before, had seen the math, had watched young pilots climb into cockpits and not come back. Fuel status, Thornton asked. Kowalski checked his clipboard. Main tank half full, sir, 120 gallons. Didn't have time to top off before the alarm. Half full. The F-6F-5 Hellcat burned approximately 80 gallons per hour during combat operations. High power settings, frequent throttle changes, maximum performance maneuvering. 120 gallons gave Thornton 90 minutes of flight time. Maybe. The Japanese formation was 22 miles west. After engaging them after the dogfight, after whatever happened next, the American task force would be 100 miles to the east, 100 miles back to the carrier. At reduced cruise power, the Hellcat could manage 150 miles per hour. 40 minutes of flight time needed, 90 minutes total fuel, 40 minutes of combat, 40 minutes to return, 10-minute margin. Except the math assumed perfect conditions, assumed no unexpected maneuvering, assumed the engine performed exactly as designed, assumed luck. Luck was not a tactical asset. She'll fly, Chief. Sir, Kowalski hesitated, old eyes that had seen too much. Bring her back. I'll try. It was the only promise he could make. Thornton climbed into the cockpit. The seat was warm from morning sun. The leather held the shape of his body. 211 times he had sat here. This would be 212. The instrument panel was familiar, comforting. Altimeter, airspeed indicator, fuel gauge, oil pressure, oil temperature, cylinder head temperature, manifold pressure, tachometer. Each dial told a story. Each needle measured life or death. 6 Browning M2 50 caliber machine guns, 400 rounds per gun, 2,400 rounds total, 15 pounds of lead and steel per second when all 6 guns fired together. The Hellcat was not elegant, not beautiful. It was a weapon, a delivery system for violence. And it did that job better than anything else the Navy had. Thornton strapped in, shoulder harness, lap belt, parachute quick release, oxygen mask, radio connection, every buckle that kept a pilot alive at 400 miles per hour and 20,000 feet. He ran through the checklist. Automatic now, muscle memory from hundreds of flights, mixture auto rich, propeller full forward, throttle 1,000 RPM, magnetos both, flight controls free and correct. The Pratt & Whitney R2800 double wasp rumbled beneath him. 18 cylinders, 2 rows, 2,000 horsepower, the sound of American industrial might, the sound of survival. Thornton keyed his radio. All valiant fighters, this is Hawk Leader. Check in. 6 voices responded. Hawk 3 ready. Hawk 4 ready. Hawk 5 ready. Hawk 6 ready. Hawk 7 ready. Hawk 2 ready. Hawk 2 was Whitmore. His Hellcat was parked 30 feet to the left. Thornton could see him in the cockpit, running his own checklist, young face serious with concentration. Whitmore looked over, made eye contact. Thornton saw the fear there. Not panic, not cowardice, understanding. Whitmore knew the odds, knew what 60 versus 7 meant, knew that some of these 7 pilots would not return to this deck. But Whitmore nodded. Ready. Thornton nodded back. Listen up, Thornton said. 60 Japanese aircraft inbound, 40 fighters, 20 dive bombers. We have 7 Hellcats. The numbers are not in our favor. No one responded. What could they say that Thornton had not already calculated? Here's the plan. Hayes, Johnson, Rogers, Kinney, Patterson. U-5 will engage the dive bombers. Your mission is to break up their formation. Prevent them from reaching our carriers. Attack from altitude. Hit them hard, then get back to Valiant. A pause. Whitmore and I will handle the fighters. Silence. Dead silence. 2 Hellcats against 40 Japanese Zeros. The absurdity hung in the air like smoke from a crashed aircraft. Hayes broke the silence. Sir, 2 against 40 is necessary. Thornton cut him off. Those bombers cannot reach our carriers. U-5 will stop them. Whitmore and I will delay the fighters long enough for you to accomplish your mission. Delay, not defeat, not destroy. Delay. Stay alive. Keep the enemy occupied. Break their tactical cohesion. Create chaos. And maybe if luck was with them, survive long enough to run. Understood, sir, Hayes said. Thornton switched to a private channel. Whitmore, you copy? Yes, sir. You can refuse this assignment. No one would blame you. Join Hayes's section. Attack the bombers. A long pause. Thornton could hear Whitmore breathing through the radio, could hear the young man making the hardest decision of his life. Negative, sir. You need a wingman. I'm your wingman. Something tightened in Thornton's chest. Pride, gratitude, guilt. Stay on my wing, Roy. Follow my lead. Don't try to be a hero. Says the man about to fight 40 Zeros. Despite everything, Thornton smiled. The flight deck officer raised the green flag, launch operations. One by one, the Hellcats rolled forward. The first 5 Hays leading accelerated down the deck, 25 knots of wind over the deck from the carrier's movement, 200 feet of wooden runway. More than enough for a lightly loaded fighter. Hayes's Hellcat lifted off. Then Johnson, Rogers, Kinney, Patterson, 5 fighters climbing into the humid morning air, banking east, heading toward the Japanese bombers. Thornton released his brakes. The Hellcat lurched forward. The R-2800 roared. 2,000 horses pulling 14,000 pounds of aircraft and ammunition and pilot down the deck. The tail lifted. The main gear came up. The ocean dropped away. Flight, that eternal moment of transition, earth to sky, weight to weightlessness. The deck fell behind. The task force shrank. Tiny gray shapes on endless blue. Whitmore launched 30 seconds later. 2 Hellcats climbed through 3,000 feet, 6,000, 10,000. Below them, the American carriers steamed in formation. Task Group 38.3, 4 carriers, USS Valiant, USS Lexington, USS Essex, USS Princeton, each one home to 3,000 sailors, each one a floating city of steel and aluminum and aviation fuel. Vulnerable, precious, worth dying for. The radio crackled. All aircraft, this is Valiant Control. Bogies now at 18 miles. Maintain current heading. 18 miles. Thornton scanned the horizon. Nothing yet. Just empty sky. He climbed through 15,000 feet. 18,000. 20,000. At 20,000 feet, the air was thin and cold. Minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit outside the canopy. But inside, with the plexiglass greenhouse effect and the morning sun, the temperature was 90 degrees. The contrast created condensation. Thornton's windscreen fogged at the edges. He wiped it with his glove. Ahead 12 miles now, 60 dark specks appeared against the blue water. Ants from this altitude. Insignificant. Except each speck contained a pilot, a human being, someone's son, someone's brother, maybe someone's father. And each speck carried enough ammunition and explosives to kill. Thornton counted, estimated. The Japanese formation was spread in a loose defensive pattern. Zeros on the perimeter. Dive bombers in the center. Textbook tactics. Smart, difficult to attack without exposing yourself to crossfire. But not impossible. Never impossible. Just very, very dangerous. Whitmore, you see them. Yes, sir. The kid's voice was tight. Jesus, there's so many. We'll manage. How? Thornton's hand rested on the throttle. The engine thrummed, reliable, powerful. He thought about Kate, about Grace, about the unfinished letter in his breast pocket. He thought about the 11 empty chairs. He thought about Hayes and Johnson and Rogers and Kinney and Patterson attacking the bombers right now, outnumbered 3-1, trusting Thornton to keep the fighters busy. He thought about the fuel gauge, half full, 90 minutes. And he thought about mathematics, 2 against 40, 2,400 rounds of ammunition. One chance to get this right. The numbers did not lie, but numbers were not destiny. Thornton pushed the stick forward. The Hellcat's nose dropped. 60 degrees. The airspeed climbed. 300 knots, 350, 400. The Japanese formation grew in his gun sight. How? Whitmore asked again. Thornton's thumb moved to the gun trigger. One at a time, Roy. We kill them one at a time. The wind screamed past the canopy. The altimeter unwound. 20,000 feet. 18. 16. And Commander Marcus Thornton, 34 years old, husband to Catherine, father to Grace, holder of 25 kills, descended towards 60 enemy aircraft with half a tank of fuel and a wingman who trusted him completely. The first Zero never knew what hit it. Thornton's Hellcat screamed down from 20,000 feet at 400 knots, 60-degree dive angle. The kind of attack that compressed time into geometry. The kind of attack that left no room for error. The straggler Zero flew 200 yards behind the main formation. Separation, the cardinal sin of aerial combat. In a dogfight, the herd protected you. Overlap of fire, mutual support, survival through numbers. Alone you were prey. Thornton centered the reflector gun sight on the Zero's engine, cowling. 800 yards. The distance collapsed. 700. 600. The Zero grew in his windscreen. He could see the red meatball on the fuselage. The rising sun of Imperial Japan. 500 yards. 400. The Zero pilot had not looked up, was maintaining formation discipline, was doing everything his instructors taught him. Everything except check his 6 o'clock. 300 yards. Thornton pressed the trigger. 6 Browning M250 caliber machine guns opened fire. The sound was apocalyptic, a sustained roar that shook the airframe. Each gun fired 850 rounds per minute. Total rate 5,100 rounds per minute. 85 rounds per second. 15 pounds of lead and steel every heartbeat. The tracers arced across the sky. Every fifth round burned phosphorus. Glowing orange streaks. The rest were invisible. Armor-piercing. Incendiary. Ball ammunition. The Zero's right wing disintegrated. Not holed, not damaged. Disintegrated. The 50 caliber rounds tore through lightweight aluminum like chainsaws through paper. The wing spar shattered. Fuel tank ruptured. Aviation gasoline misted into the slipstream and ignited. Orange flame bloomed. Black smoke billowed. The Zero snap rolled right. Inverted. The nose dropped. Death spiral. 4 miles of altitude between aircraft and ocean. 4 miles to watch the water rise. 4 miles to know death was coming. No parachute emerged. The pilot rode the Zero down. First kill, 0748 hours. October 24th, 1944. Thornton hauled back on the stick. 4 Gs pressed him into the seat. His vision grayed. Blood pooled in his legs. The G-suit inflated, squeezing his calves and thighs, forcing blood back to his brain. The horizon rotated. The Hellcat climbed. Airspeed bled away. 400 knots. 350. 300. He leveled at 18,000 feet. Below, the Japanese formation scattered. Zeros peeled off in all directions. Some dove. Some climbed. Some turned hard. Tactical cohesion vanished in 30 seconds. Panic propagated faster than radio coordination. In the lead Japanese aircraft, Commander Takeshi Yamada keyed his radio. Veteran of 3 years combat, 200 missions over China and the Pacific. He had never seen this before. 2 American fighters attacking 60. Impossible, insane, or brilliant. All aircraft maintain formation discipline. Do not break. Repeat, do not break. But it was too late. Fear was faster than orders. His pilots scattered like startled birds. Yamada cursed. The American commander, whoever he was, had understood something fundamental. Numbers meant nothing if coordination collapsed. 2 disciplined fighters could defeat 60 panicked ones. Hawk Leader Hawk 2, Splash 1, confirmed visual. Whitmore had followed the same attack. Dove selected a target, fired, killed, 2 down, 58 remaining. Good shooting 2, climb back to Angels 20, we go again. Copy Leader. The mathematics shifted, marginally. 2 kills meant 2 fewer guns, 2 fewer pilots. In attrition warfare, every elimination mattered, but 58 versus 2 was still suicide mathematics. Thornton checked his instruments. Fuel 110 gallons. 10 gallons burned in 2 minutes of combat. The devour, the climb, the high-power maneuvering. At this rate, 11 minutes until dry tanks. Not enough, he throttled back. 1,800 RPM. Reduced manifold pressure. The engine note changed, less aggressive, more economical. Fuel consumption dropped to 60 gallons per hour, but speed dropped too. The Hellcat could not fight and conserve simultaneously. Compromise. Always compromise. Speed or endurance? Never both. A Zero climbed toward him. Aggressive. The pilot had seen Thornton's attack and wanted revenge. Bad tactical decision. The Mitsubishi A6M50 was powered by a Nakajima Sake 21 radial engine, 14 cylinders, 1,130 horsepower, fast, maneuverable at low altitude. Could outturn anything the Americans built below 12,000 feet. But at 18,000 feet, the Zero struggled. Thin air, reduced power. The Pratt & Whitney R2800 supercharged and fuel injected produced full power to 25,000 feet. At this altitude, the Hellcat dominated. Thornton nosed over. Dove again. The Zero continued climbing, trying to meet him head-on. Classic Zero tactic. Force a turning fight where the lighter aircraft won. Thornton did not take the bait. He rolled inverted. Sky became water. Water became sky. Negative Gs threw him against his harness. Blood rushed to his head. Vision turned red. Pressure built in his skull. He completed the roll behind the Zero. Perfect deflection angle. The Zero pilot saw him too late. Tried to turn, banking hard left. Tight. Tighter than any Hellcat could manage. But Thornton was not turning. He was diving. Trading altitude for velocity. Physics on his side. The Hellcat's extra 2,000 pounds became speed. Became killing power. He fired. 2-second burst. 12 rounds per gun. 72 rounds total. The Zero's cockpit exploded. Plexiglass shattered. Aluminum framing bent. The pilot's body jerked. The canopy disappeared in a cloud of debris. The Zero's snap roll left. Violent. Uncontrolled. A dead man's aircraft obeying only gravity. Second kill, 0752 hours. Thornton climbed again. The pattern established itself. Dive, fire, climb, repeat. Simple, effective, brutal. The Japanese formation was no longer a formation. Individual aircraft fled west toward Luzon. Some dove toward the water. Some tried to climb to safety. Coordination gone. Command structure broken. Commander Yamada watched in horror. In 3 minutes, the Americans had destroyed his formation's cohesion. His orders went unheeded. His pilots fled in panic. He keyed his radio one last time. All aircraft withdraw, repeat withdraw to Luzon. Mission aborted. The words tasted like ashes. That was the goal. Not to kill 60 aircraft with 2. Impossible. But to scatter them, disrupt them, prevent organized attack on the American carriers. Leader 2, I have a shot. Take it. Whitmore's Hellcat dove on a Nakajima Ki-43 Oscar. Army fighter, lighter than the Zero, more fragile. Whitmore's guns fired. The Oscar's engine exploded in black smoke. Oil sprayed, the propeller seized. The aircraft nosed over. Third kill total, second for Whitmore. Thornton found his next target. Zero in a climbing turn. The pilot was scanning, looking for him. Aware now, frightened now. Fear made you slow. Thornton dove. 400 knots. The Zero turned to meet him, tried nose on, tried to force a head-on pass. Thornton rolled, pulled through, negative Gs again, blood rush, tunnel vision. His hands crushed the stick, his jaw clenched. He came out behind the Zero. Deflection shot, laid the target. He fired. 3-second burst. 108 rounds. Tracers walked up the fuselage, tail to cockpit, aluminum shredded. The canopy shattered. The pilot slumped. The Zero rolled, inverted, and fell. Third kill for Thornton, 0756 hours. His shoulder ached. The accumulated G-forces, 4 Gs on every pull-up, 6 Gs on hard turns. The human body was not designed for this. Blood vessels strained, heart worked overtime, muscles trembled, sweat soaked through his flight suit. Outside temperature -10, inside 90 degrees. The contrast fogged his windscreen. He wiped it. The leather came away damp. Leader bandits, 3 o'clock high. Thornton looked right. 2 Zeros diving. Coordinated attack. They had learned, 2 against 1, force him to choose which target. While he focused on one, the other killed him. 2, I need support. On my way. Whitmore climbed hard, full throttle, but he was 4,000 feet below, 20 seconds away. Thornton did not have 20 seconds. He broke left, maximum performance turn. The Hellcat shuddered, wings groaned. Moan. Stall warning horn blared. The aircraft held together. Grumman Iron Works, overbuilt, redundant systems. Not elegant, just tough. The 2 Zeros followed, tighter turn radius. They gained angle. Another few seconds and they would have firing solutions. Whitmore arrived. His Hellcat dove from above. Guns blazing. Not aimed. Moving too fast. But the tracer stream forced reaction. 1 Zero broke defensive. The other committed to his attack on Thornton. Mistake. Thornton reversed. Snap roll right. The Zero overshot. Flew past. Exposed his 6. Thornton fired. Point blank. 150 yards. 2 seconds. The Zero's engine cowling peeled back like foil. The propeller sheared off. Black smoke poured. The aircraft nosed over. Fourth kill. 0803 hours. 26 minutes of combat. 4 kills. Thornton checked ammunition. 1,760 rounds remaining. Started with 2,400. 640 expended. 160 rounds per kill. Not sustainable. At this rate, ammunition would last 15 kills. He did not need 15. Just 9. 9 to break the record, if he lived that long. Fuel gauge 92 gallons. 28 burned in 26 minutes. 1.08 gallons per minute. 65 gallons per hour. Better than predicted, but still not enough. 42 minutes of flight time remaining at current burn rate. Distance to carrier 100 miles. Time needed to return 40 minutes. Margin 2 minutes. 2 minutes of fuel. 2 minutes of life. Leader, I'm getting low on ammo. 1,500 rounds left. Whitmore had burned 900 rounds. 3 kills, 300 per kill. Less efficient. But the kid was learning. Conserve shots 2, 1 second bursts maximum. Copy. The Japanese formation was fully scattered. Individual Zeros fleeing west. The dive bombers, those that remained, had broken off. Turning back to Luzon, the threat to the carriers was neutralized. Hayes and his 5 Hellcats had done their job. The radio chatter confirmed it. 2 enemy dive bombers destroyed, 3 probables, the rest fleeing, no American losses. But 30-plus Zeros still flew, still dangerous, still capable of regrouping. Thornton spotted a lone Zero below, 12,000 feet. Running, he dove, 18,000 to 12,000. 6,000 feet, traded for speed, 420 knots. Too fast, the airframe buffeted. Control surfaces vibrated, he did not care. The Zero pilot saw him, but tried to dive away, seeing his only remaining advantage. But the Hellcat was heavier, 2,000 pounds heavier. Mass times acceleration. Thornton closed to 200 yards. Pure pursuit, no deflection needed. He fired. 1 second, 60 rounds. The tracers converged on the engine. Cowling disintegrated. Smoke erupted. The propeller stopped. The Zero nosed into a vertical dive. Disappeared into clouds at 8,000 feet. Engine dead Zero meant dead pilot. Glide ratio 8 to 1. 8,000 feet gave 12 miles. Nearest Japanese airfield 60 miles west. The ocean would have him. 5th kill, 0823 hours. Thornton pulled up. 4 Gs, 6 Gs. Vision grade, went dark at the edges. Tunnel vision, only the instruments visible. Peripheral vision gone. Blood pooling despite the G-suit. He leveled at 16,000, gasped for breath. Oxygen flowed cold and pure. Vision cleared, heart hammered. "Leader, you good?" Whitmore's voice. Concerned, he had seen the pullout. Knew how close Thornton came to unconsciousness. "I'm good too." A lie. He was not good. He was exhausted. Shoulder screamed, hands trembled, sweat dripped into his eyes. Oxygen mask chafed, neck hurt from constant scanning. But alive. And there were more targets. 3 Zeros at 14,000. Flying Vic formation. Trying to stay together. Smart, not smart enough. Thornton climbed to 17,000. Positioned above and behind. Sun at his back. Height, speed, surprise. The fundamental advantages. He dove. The lead Zero saw him. Broke right. The other 2 scattered. Every man for himself. Thornton selected the trailer. Slowest, last to react. He closed to 300 yards. Fired. 1 second. Short. Economical. The Zero's wing root exploded. Fuel tank. The wing folded. Snapped at the spar. The Zero tumbled. 6th kill. 0823 hours. 48 minutes of combat. 6 kills. American single mission record was 7. Set during the Battle of the Philippine Sea. The Marianas Turkey Shoot. June 19, 1944. A pilot named Richard Stambuk. 7 kills in 2 sorties. Thornton was at 6, 1 to tie. 2 to break it. Ammunition 1,400 rounds, 1,000 expended. 6 kills, 167 per kill. The average held. But fuel 74 gallons. 46 burned in 48 minutes. 0.96 gallons per minute. 58 gallons per hour, better. He had throttled back. Conserved between engagements. 74 gallons at 58 per hour, 76 minutes of flight time. Distance to carrier 100 miles. Time needed 40 minutes minimum. Margin 36 minutes. Still not enough. Because he could not maintain reduced power during combat. The next engagement would spike consumption back to 2 gallons per minute. The math was tightening like a noose. "Leader, I'm Winchester." Thornton's blood froze. "Winchester, out of ammunition." "Say again, too." "Winchester leader, guns are dry, all 2,400 rounds expended." Whitmore had expended all ammunition, 5 kills, 480 rounds per kill, less efficient than Thornton. But the kid had gotten kills, had disrupted the formation, had done his job, and now he was defenseless. "2 RTB, return to base immediately, that's an order." Silence, then, "Negative leader, I'm staying." "Roy, you have no ammunition. You cannot fight. Return to base." Another pause. "With respect, sir, I'm not leaving you against 30-plus bandits alone. I'm staying." Thornton wanted to argue, wanted to pull rank, wanted to send the kid home to safety, to survival, to Nebraska and cornfields and a future. But he understood. The code. Wingmen did not abandon each other. Not ever. Not for any reason. And tactical calculation, an unarmed Hellcat looked identical to an armed one from distance. The Japanese would not know, would see two threats, would have to split attention. A decoy was still a decoy. All right, two, stay on my wing. We'll use you to split their attention. Copy, leader. Thornton found his seventh target. Zero climbing, aggressive. The pilot wanted revenge, wanted to prove Japanese courage. The Zero climbed hard, nose high, bleeding airspeed, trying to force a vertical fight where power to weight won. Thornton did not climb, he rolled inverted, pulled through, the world spun, sky, water, sky, negative G's, blood rush, tunnel vision, stomach in throat, eyes bulging. He completed the roll behind the Zero. The Japanese pilot was looking up, expecting Thornton to meet him climbing. Instead, Thornton was below and behind, killing position. He fired. 2 seconds, 120 rounds. The Zero's cockpit shattered. Plexiglass, aluminum. The pilot jerked violently against his harness. The aircraft snap-rolled left. Out of control. 7th kill. 0845 hours. 70 minutes of combat. 7 kills. American record tied. Thornton's hands shook. Not fear, exertion, sustained G-forces. 70 minutes of high-intensity combat. Shoulders burned. Neck ached. Back screamed. Vision blurred. And fuel 58 gallons. 16 burned in the last 32 minutes. 0.5 gallons per minute. 30 gallons per hour. He had managed to reduce consumption even further. But 58 gallons was not enough. Not for what came next. Because ahead fleeing west was a lone Zero. Straggler, running for Luzon. 8th kill potential. Thornton checked his position. 112 miles from Valiant. The dogfight had carried him west. Chasing kills. Following targets. 58 gallons. 112 miles to safety. At reduced power, 50 gallons per hour consumption. 70 minutes of engine time. 112 miles at 150 miles per hour, 45 minutes needed. Margin 25 minutes. Except he would need high power to catch that Zero. 5 minutes at 2 gallons per minute. 10 gallons? 58 minus 10 equals 48 gallons. 48 gallons would not get him home. Thornton's thumb hovered over the throttle. Kate. Grace. The unfinished letter. The math said stop, said survive, said records don't matter if you're dead. But something else said go, said finish, said you came this far. He pushed the throttle forward. The R-2800 responded. Full power. The Hellcat surged. The fuel gauge needle dropped. Leader, what are you doing? One more Roy. Skipper, the math doesn't work. I know. Then why? Thornton watched the Zero grow larger. 5 miles, 4, 3, because that's 8. 8 ties the record, and if I'm going to die out here, I might as well die a record holder. Silence. Then Whitmore's voice, quiet, respectful. Yes, sir. 2 miles. The Zero pilot saw him. Violent evasives, hard right, snap roll, divvy, climb, desperation in every movement. Thornton followed, matched every turn, anticipated every move. Superior power kept him locked on. 1 mile. The Zero reversed, tried nose on, tried to force a head-on pass where luck might win. Thornton rolled, pulled through, came out behind, 200 yards. He fired, 3 seconds, 180 rounds. Tracers converged on the engine. Cowling peeled back. Propeller hub shattered. Oil sprayed. Smoke poured. The engine seized. The Zero's nose dropped. Negative G's. The pilot slammed forward. Vertical dive. 8th kill, 0852 hours, 92 minutes of combat. 8 enemy aircraft destroyed. American single mission record tied. Thornton leveled at 16,000. Hands trembled. Body exhausted. But mind clear. Focused. He keyed his radio. Valiant, this is Hawk Leader. 8 confirmed kills. Repeat. 8 confirmed. Static. Then disbelief in the radio operator's voice. Hawk Leader, say again. 8 kills Valiant. 8 enemy aircraft destroyed. Long pause. Copy Hawk Leader. Outstanding work. RTB when able. Return to base when able. Thornton looked at his fuel gauge. 38 gallons. His blood went cold. 38 gallons. 118 miles from USS Valiant. He had traded survival for glory, and the bill was coming due. But ahead, 6 miles west, 1 more Zero fled toward Luzon. 9 would break the record. Thornton's hand moved to the throttle. 38 gallons of fuel. 118 miles from safety. and one more Zero fleeing west. Commander Marcus Thornton made a calculation, not with numbers, not with fuel consumption rates or distance equations, a calculation of legacy, of meaning, of what mattered. 8 kills tied the record. 9 would break it. 9 would make history that lasted beyond one man's life, beyond one morning over the Philippine Sea. 9 would mean something in 50 years, in 80 years, in a century, if anyone remembered, if anyone cared. Thornton pushed the throttle forward. The Pratt & Whitney R2800 roared. War emergency power, 61 inches of manifold pressure, 2,800 RPM, maximum output. The fuel gauge needle dropped like a stone thrown into a well. "Skipper, what are you doing?" Whitmore's voice. Concerned. The kid could see Thornton's course, could see the lone Zero 6 miles ahead, could do the mathematics of death. "One more, Roy. Just one more." "Sir, you'll never make it back." "Probably not." "Then why?" Thornton watched the Zero grow in his windscreen. 6 miles, for him, the gap closed at 300 knots combined closure rate. Because 9 is more than 8, 9 is the number that matters. He did not say the rest, did not say that he had already written the letter to Kate, already made his peace, already accepted that this morning might be his last. Did not say that if he was going to die, he wanted it to mean something. 4 miles. The Zero pilot saw him coming, threw the aircraft into desperate evasives. Hard right, snap left, dive, climb. The movements of a man who knew death was behind him and accelerating. Thornton followed, calm, patient. The Hellcat's superior power negated every defensive maneuver. The Zero could turn tighter, could climb faster at low altitude, could outmaneuver in a sustained dogfight. But this was not a dogfight. This was an execution. 3 miles. Thornton's fuel gauge showed 32 gallons, 6 gallons burned in pursuit, 2 minutes at high power. The mathematics were relentless. 32 gallons, 124 miles from USS Valiant after he made this kill and turned east. At minimum cruise power, 45 gallons per hour consumption. 43 minutes of engine time. 124 miles at 150 miles per hour, 50 minutes required. Deficit 7 minutes, 12 miles. He would ditch in the Philippine Sea 12 miles short of the carrier. The water was 4,000 feet deep, 78 degrees. Survival time maybe 4 hours if hypothermia did not take him first. If sharks did not find him. If the swells did not drown him in his life vest. 2 miles. But those calculations were future problems. Right now there was only the target. The Zero. Kill number 9. The Zero reversed, tried to go nose to nose. Tried to force a head-on pass where luck and courage might prevail. Thornton rolled inverted, pulled through, negative G's throwing him against his harness. Blood rushing to his head, vision going red. He completed the maneuver behind the Zero. 1 mile, half mile, 200 yards. Perfect firing position. Thornton centered the reflector gun sight on the Zero's engine cowling. His thumb moved to the trigger. The last burst. The final expenditure of ammunition for this target. He pressed. 6 Browning M2 machine guns fired. 3 seconds. 180 rounds of 50 caliber ammunition crossing the gap between predator and prey. The tracers converged like orange lightning. The Zero's engine cowling exploded. Metal shredded. The propeller hub disintegrated. Oil sprayed black across the windscreen. The Nakajima Sake engine seized solid, locked, dead. Smoke poured from the cowling, thick, caustic. The aircraft pitched forward violently. The sudden deceleration threw the pilot against his harness. His head snapped down. The Zero entered a death dive. Thornton followed it down through 3,000 feet. Watched it fall through 5,000, 6,000. Watched it disappear into a cloud layer at 8,000 feet. He did not need to see the impact. A Zero with no engine at 8,000 feet had one destination, the ocean. 9th kill, 0857 hours. October 24th, 1944. 97 minutes of continuous combat. 9 enemy aircraft destroyed. American single mission record. Broken. Thornton leveled at 15,000 feet. His hands were shaking, his heart hammered. His breathing came fast and shallow through the oxygen mask. He keyed his radio. "Valiant, this is Hawk Leader." Static. Then the radio operator's voice. "Go ahead, Hawk Leader." 9 confirmed kills. Repeat, 9 enemy aircraft destroyed. Silence. Long silence. Thornton could picture the radio operator looking at his log. Checking, rechecking. 9 kills was impossible. No Navy pilot had ever achieved 9 in a single mission. Hawk leader confirmed 9 kills. Confirmed 9 enemy aircraft, Mitsubishi Zeros and Nakajima Oscars, all destroyed. Another pause. Copy Hawk leader, 9 confirmed. Outstanding work. The radio operator's voice cracked. Sir, that's a new record. That's incredible. Acknowledge. Hawk leader returning to base. Thornton switched frequencies. Checked his fuel. 32 gallons. His stomach dropped. He had known it would be bad, had calculated it, had accepted it. But seeing the needle that low, seeing the physical evidence of his decision, made it real in a way mathematics never could. 32 gallons. 124 miles from USS Valiant. He throttled back to absolute minimum. 1,800 RPM, 14 inches manifold pressure. The engine note dropped to a low rumble. The Hellcat's airspeed bled off. 190 knots, 170, 150. Fuel consumption at these settings, 45 gallons per hour. 32 gallons gave him 43 minutes. 124 miles at 150 miles per hour, 50 minutes required. The math was brutal, final, inescapable. He would run out of fuel 7 minutes short of the carrier. 12 miles from safety, 12 miles of ocean. Leader fuel status. Whitmore's voice. The kid was flying formation 500 yards to the left. Out of ammunition, but still there. Still loyal. 32 gallons too. A sharp intake of breath over the radio. Jesus, Skipper, that's not enough. I know. What's the plan? Thornton scanned his instruments. Altitude 15,000 feet. Airspeed 150 knots. Fuel pressure 11 psi dropping. Oil pressure 60 psi. Cylinder head temperature 230 degrees. Everything nominal, everything working. For now. We trade altitude for distance, Thornton said. Every 1,000 feet gives us roughly 2 miles of glide range. We're at 15,000. That's 30 miles of gliding when the engine quits. Still leaves us 90 plus miles short. Then we pray the engine runs longer than the math says it will. Silence. Whitmore knew as Thornton knew that engines did not run on prayer. They ran on fuel, and when the fuel was gone, they stopped. Simple. Mechanical. Final. Skipper. Whitmore's voice was quiet. My fuel's worse than yours. I've got maybe 26 gallons. Thornton closed his eyes briefly, opened them. The horizon stretched endless. Blue water meeting pale sky. No landmarks, no reference points, just ocean. How long, Roy? 35 minutes. Maybe 38 if I glide the last 10 miles. Distance to Valiant. 114 miles from my position. The mathematics were worse for Whitmore. The kid would ditch 28 miles short of the carrier. Would go into the water before Thornton. Would die first, because he had refused to leave his commanding officer. Thornton's throat tightened. Roy, you should have gone back when I ordered you. Probably, sir. This is on me, my decision, my fault. With respect, Skipper, it was my choice. I stayed because I wanted to, because you're my leader, because that's what we do. The code, the unwritten law, never leave your wingman, even if it meant dying together. The two Hellcats flew east, side by side, 500 yards apart. 2 aircraft, 2 pilots, 2 men who had broken a record and might not live to tell about it. The minutes passed. Thornton watched the fuel gauge drop. 30 gallons, 28, 26. The needle moved slowly but relentlessly. Each minute consumed 0.7 gallons. Each mile cost 0.5. Mathematics without mercy. At 90 miles from Valiant, something changed. Whitmore's voice came over the radio, strained. Leader, my engine just coughed. Thornton looked left. Whitmore's Hellcat was still in formation, still flying, but Thornton could see vapor trailing from the exhaust stacks. Fuel starvation symptoms. Talk to me too. Fuel pressure dropping, 11 psi, 10, 9. The engine was running on fumes, on the residual fuel in the lines, minutes away from complete failure. Switch tanks. Already on auxiliary, it's dry, Skipper. They're all dry. Thornton's mind raced. Options. Alternatives. There had to be something. But there was nothing. Whitmore was going into the water, and Thornton could not stop it. All right, Roy, listen carefully. When you ditch into the wind, minimize impact speed. Gear up. Flaps down at the last second. Hit the water at minimum controllable airspeed. You understand? Copy. Get out of the cockpit fast. The aircraft will sink in 60 seconds. Deploy your life raft immediately. Fire your flare gun. Valiant will send search aircraft. How long until they find me? Thornton did not want to answer that question. Search and rescue operations took time. Coordinating assets, vectoring aircraft, flying search patterns. Even with perfect conditions, it could take hours. And conditions were never perfect. They'll find you, Roy, I promise. It was a lie. Thornton could not promise that. But it was the kind of lie that commanding officers told, the kind that gave hope when hope was all that remained. Skipper. Whitmore's voice was steady, calm, accepting. Thank you for everything, for teaching me, for trusting me, for being my leader. Roy, you're going to be fine. You're going to... Leader engines quitting, RPM dropping, 1,500, 1,200, 1,000. Thornton watched Whitmore's propeller slow, the three blades visible now as individual elements instead of a blur. I'm at 12,000 feet, Whitmore said. Going into a glide. The Hellcat could glide, 8-to-1 ratio. 12,000 feet of altitude meant 96,000 feet of forward travel, 18 miles. Whitmore was 88 miles from the carrier. He would ditch 70 miles short, 70 miles of empty ocean. Roy, you did good today. 5 kills. You broke up their formation. You saved the carriers. You hear me? You saved them. Yes, sir. And when you get picked up, when the destroyer pulls you out of the water, you're going to have one hell of a story to tell. A pause, then, I'd rather tell it with you there, Skipper. Thornton's vision blurred. He blinked, cleared it. So would I, Roy. So would I. He watched Whitmore's Hellcat descend, 12,000 feet, 10,000, 8,000. A controlled glide. Professional. Disciplined. The kid was doing everything right. At 6,000 feet, Whitmore deployed his landing gear. At 1,000 feet, he lowered his flaps. The Hellcat's descent rate increased. The nose came up, flaring for landing, on water. Thornton could not see the actual impact. Whitmore was too far away, too low, but he could imagine it. The Hellcat hitting the swells at 90 knots. The sudden deceleration. The spray. The aircraft bouncing once, twice, then settling. Sinking. Hawk 2 is down. Whitmore's voice came through the radio. Calm. Matter of fact. Life raft deployed. I'm okay. Aircraft is sinking. Flare fired. Copy 2. Stay with your raft. Conserve your energy. Help is coming. Understood. Leader, go. Get yourself home. Don't worry about me. Thornton wanted to stay. Wanted to circle over Whitmore's position. Mark it. Guide the rescue aircraft. But he had 30 miles of fuel remaining. Maybe less. He could not afford to orbit. Godspeed, Roy. You too, Skipper. Break that record. Make it count. The radio went silent. Thornton flew east. Alone now. 1 Hellcat, 1 pilot, and 62 miles from safety. The next 10 minutes were the longest of Thornton's life. He nursed the Hellcat eastward at minimum cruise power, 150 knots, 1,800 RPM, fuel consumption optimized for maximum range. But optimization could not change physics. The fuel gauge dropped below 20 gallons, then 18, then 16. At 50 miles from Valiant, the first American destroyer appeared on the horizon. Part of the screening force, USS Fletcher. Thornton recognized her silhouette. Fletcher-class destroyer, 2,000 tons, 5.5-inch guns. Those guns were pointed at him. The first shell exploded 200 yards ahead of his Hellcat. Black puff of smoke. 5-inch anti-aircraft round. Proximity fuse. Thornton's stomach dropped. American fire. The destroyer had spotted an aircraft approaching from the west. From the direction of Japanese-held Luzon, had identified it as hostile. The IFF transponder identification, friend or foe, should have prevented this. Should have transmitted a coded signal, friendly aircraft. But IFF systems failed. Transponders malfunctioned. And radar operators made mistakes. Another shell exploded, closer, 100 yards. The blast wave rocked Thornton's Hellcat. The aircraft yawed right. He fought the controls. Corrected. Leveled. Valiant, this is Hawk Leader. Cease fire of friendly aircraft. American Hellcat. No response. Wrong frequency. He was still on the combat frequency, not the approach frequency. He reached for the radio selector. His hand was shaking. Sweat-slick gloves. Small knob. He tried to turn it. Slipped. Tried again. The Hellcat bucked as another shell exploded 50 yards away. Shrapnel pinged off the fuselage. A hole appeared in his left wing. Jagged. The size of a fist. He could not switch frequencies. Could not identify himself. Could not stop the destroyer from firing. Thornton shoved the stick forward, dove toward the wave tops, 15,000 feet to 3,000 in 30 seconds. The airspeed built, 220 knots, 240, dangerous speed at low altitude. The 5-inch fire stopped, too low. The proximity fuses could not discriminate between aircraft and wave tops. But something else appeared. 4 Hellcats, VF-19 markings from USS Lexington. Combat Air Patrol scrambled to intercept the unidentified aircraft approaching from hostile territory. 4 American Hellcats diving toward 1 American Hellcat that could not identify itself. Thornton's mouth went dry. The 4 fighters spread into attack formation. 2 pairs, mutual support, professional, coordinated. They were going to shoot him down. The lead Hellcat closed to 600 yards, 400, 200. Thornton could see the pilot's face, could see the gun ports, could see death approaching at 300 knots. He broke left. Maximum performance turn, 4 Gs, 6 Gs. The Hellcat groaned, wings flexed, G-suit inflated. The 4 American fighters followed, turned inside him, gained angle. They were forcing him toward the water, classic intercept, force the bogey down, prevent him from reaching the carriers. Thornton's engine coughed, once, twice. The fuel was nearly gone. The engine running on vapor, on fumes, on nothing. The propeller stuttered. RPM dropped. 1,800 to 1,600 to 1,400. He was 3 miles from USS Valiant. So close. The 4 attacking Hellcats closed to 300 yards. 200. The lead fighter's nose came up, lining up for a deflection shot, and then without warning, all 4 broke off. Climbed away, disengaged. Thornton did not understand, did not question, just flew. Later, he would learn that the flight leader had recognized the Air Group 12 tail markings, had radioed Valiant for confirmation, had been ordered to break off immediately. But in that moment, Thornton only knew one thing. His engine was dying, and he had 2 miles to live. The Pratt & Whitney R2800 coughed again. RPM dropped to 1,200, 1,000, 800. The propeller slowed, individual blades visible, windmilling in the slipstream but producing no thrust. The engine quit, complete silence except for the wind through the cockpit. The Hellcat was gliding, altitude 1,000 feet, airspeed 120 knots, sink rate 800 feet per minute. Thornton did the final calculation. 1,000 feet altitude, sink rate 800 feet per minute, time to impact 75 seconds, distance to USS Valiant 2 miles. The mathematics said he would hit the water 1 mile short, 5,280 feet from safety. But off his right wing 3 miles distant was another carrier, smaller than Valiant, shorter flight deck, USS Langley, CVL-27, light carrier, and her deck was clear. Thornton turned right, the Hellcat responded, no power, just aerodynamic control. The aircraft banked. He lined up on Langley's stern, altitude 800 feet, distance 1 mile, sink rate 800 feet per minute. The mathematics said he would make it, barely. He dropped his landing gear. The hydraulic system still had residual pressure. The gear extended, locked down with a solid thunk. He reached for the flap handle, stopped. Flaps increased drag, would steepen his glide path, would cost altitude he could not afford to lose. Gear down. Flaps up, committed, 500 feet altitude, half mile from Langley. The carrier was steaming into the wind, 25 knots. The wind over the deck gave him extra airspeed, margin, not much. The landing signal officer appeared on the port side of the flight deck, yellow paddles in both hands. The LSO watched Thornton's approach, read his glide slope, airspeed, alignment. The LSO gave the cut signal, wave off. Thornton was too high, too fast, wrong approach. Thornton ignored the signal. He had no power, no throttle, no ability to adjust. Physics was flying the aircraft, gravity and momentum. 300 feet, quarter mile. The LSO gave the cut signal again, emphatic, frantic. Thornton kept coming. The deck crew scattered, men diving for cover. The LSO jumped into the safety net. Thornton crossed Langley's stern at 50 feet. His landing gear cleared the round down by 4 inches. The Hellcat slammed onto the wooden deck. Impact. The main landing gear oleo struts compressed fully. Metal on metal. The deck board splintered. The arresting wires sang. The tail hook caught the number 3 wire. Perfect. The wire stretched. 200 feet of braided steel cable absorbing the energy. The Hellcat decelerated, 90 knots to 0 in 3 seconds. 8 Gs forward. Thornton's head snapped against the headrest. His vision went black. His chest compressed. His hands crushed the stick. And in that instant, the moment the tail hook engaged the wire, the engine died its final death. Not a cough, not a sputter. Silence. The propeller stopped turning, the cylinders locked. Complete fuel starvation. If Thornton had aimed for USS Valiant 4 miles away, he would have ditched in the ocean 3/4 of a mile short, would have hit the water at 120 knots, would have died on impact or drowned in the wreckage. He had survived by 4 miles, by 60 seconds, by the width of a decision made in desperation. The Hellcat rolled to a stop. Thornton sat in the cockpit, breathing, just breathing. His hands shook, his vision swam, his heart hammered. He was alive. The deck crew swarmed the aircraft, tried to release the tailhook. The hydraulic system had no pressure. They had to manually disengage it. 4 sailors pulling and lifting. Thornton unbuckled his harness, disconnected his oxygen mask, opened the canopy. Humid air rushed in, warm, heavy, real. He climbed out, his legs buckled. 2 sailors caught him, held him upright. 97 minutes of continuous combat, high-G maneuvering, adrenaline depletion. A deck officer approached, clipboard in hand. "Commander, we need your report." Thornton's voice was hoarse. 9 kills, multiple attack runs, ammunition expended, fuel expended. The deck officer wrote it down, signaled to the ordnance chief. The chief climbed onto the Hellcat, opened the ammunition bay panels, counted the remaining rounds. He climbed down, approached the deck officer. "Sir, I need to report something." "Go ahead, Chief." "Commander has 2 rounds remaining total. Out of 2,400 rounds loaded, he fired 2,398. The deck officer stared. 2 rounds. "Yes, sir, 2. 99.9% expended. 2 bullets, 2 pieces of brass, 2 rounds that separated complete expenditure from absolute zero. The fuel crew measured the tanks, calibrated sticks, main, auxiliary, reserve, all bone dry. The crew chief reported, engine was running on vapor for the last 5 minutes. If the commander had tried for USS Valiant, he would have run out of fuel 3/4 of a mile short. Thornton processed this. 3/4 of a mile, 3,960 feet. He had made the right call, the desperate call, the only call. And he had survived by inches. 500 words. The whaleboat rocked in 3-foot swells. 20 minutes from USS Langley to USS Valiant. 4 miles of choppy ocean. The coxswain timed each swell. The boat crew worked the oars. Commander Marcus Thornton sat on the wooden bench, head in his hands. The adrenaline was gone. What remained was exhaustion, and the weight of what he had done. 9 kills, 2 rounds remaining. Engine died the second he landed. American single mission record. Broken. But somewhere behind him, 70 miles west, Ensign Roy Whitmore floated in a life raft. Alone, waiting for rescue. The price of glory. The whaleboat bumped against Valiant's hull. Thornton grabbed the boarding ladder, climbed 30 feet to the main deck. An officer was waiting. "Commander, you're needed in intelligence immediately." Thornton followed through the passageways, down 3 decks, into the intelligence center deep in the carrier's hull. Maps covered every wall. The Battle of Leyte Gulf tracked in real time. Red markers, Japanese forces. Blue markers, American fleets. A lieutenant commander looked up from the plotting table. "Commander Thornton, welcome back. 9 kills. Outstanding work." "Thank you, sir. But I need to report Ensign Whitmore ditched 80 miles west. Life raft deployed, flare fired. He needs immediate search and rescue." "Already coordinated. We had a Kingfisher float plane in the air within 10 minutes of his ditching. Destroyer USS Haywood is proceeding to his position at flank speed. ETA, 90 minutes. Thornton exhaled. Whitmore would survive. The kid would make it. The lieutenant commander gestured to the maps. "Commander, your mission this morning was more successful than you know. The Japanese strike package you disrupted was headed here. For our carriers, your actions and Ensign Whitmore's prevented what could have been a catastrophic attack." "What about Hayes and his section?" "All 5 returned safely. 2 confirmed kills on enemy dive bombers. 3 probables. No American losses." Thornton felt something in his chest loosen. His pilots had survived. All of them. "But the battle isn't over," the lieutenant commander continued. "The Japanese center force is still approaching. Admiral Kurita commanding. 5 battleships including Yamato and Musashi. 12 cruisers. 15 destroyers. They're steaming through the Sibuyan Sea towards San Bernardino Strait." He pointed to the map. Red markers moving east. If they break through, they'll hit our landing beaches at Lady Gulf, slaughter the troops ashore. We're launching maximum effort strikes all afternoon, every available bomber and torpedo plane. The lieutenant commander looked at Thornton. You're scheduled to lead the fighter escort for the 1400 strike. Thornton checked his watch, 12:45, 75 minutes to rest, eat, brief, and fly again. Yes, sir. What's the primary target? Musashi, Yamato's sister ship, 72,000 tons, largest battleship ever built. She's already taken torpedo and bomb hits this morning, but she's still afloat. Still heading for the strait. We need to sink her. Thornton studied the map. Musashi, the ultimate target, 16-inch belt armor, 9-inch deck armor, designed to withstand incredible punishment. What aircraft will I be flying? Your Hellcat is still on Langley, damaged hydraulics. We're prepping aircraft 43 for you, fully fueled, full ammunition load. Understood. I'll be ready. Thornton went to the ready room. The other pilots were there. Hayes, Johnson, Rogers, Kinney, Patterson. They stood when he entered. Hayes spoke first. Sir, 9 kills. We heard. That's incredible. Thornton shook his head. You 5 did the real work. You stopped the bombers, saved the carriers. That's what mattered. But 9 kills in one mission. That's a record, sir. American record. It's just a number. But it was not just a number. It was legacy. It was history. It was proof that one pilot, one man could make a difference when everything was on the line. Thornton grabbed a sandwich from the ready room table, forced himself to eat. His stomach was knotted. His hands still shook slightly. He pulled the letter to Kate from his breast pocket. The 3 unfinished lines. He stared at them. Then he tore the letter in half, in quarters, dropped the pieces in the trash. Not today. He would write a new letter, a different letter. I made it back. 9 more reasons to fight. 9 more reasons to come home to you. At 13:55 hours, Commander Marcus Thornton climbed into the cockpit of Hellcat number 43. Fresh aircraft, full fuel, 2,400 rounds of ammunition. Around him, 35 other aircraft prepared to launch. 12 SB-2C Helldiver dive bombers, 12 TBF Avenger torpedo bombers, 12 Hellcat fighters, maximum effort strike. The target Imperial Japanese Navy battleship Musashi. At 1400 hours, the launch began. Thornton's Hellcat rolled down the deck, lifted into the afternoon sky. The strike package formed up over the task force, 36 aircraft, heading west, toward the Sibian Sea, toward the most heavily defended warship in the Japanese fleet. The afternoon strike against Musashi was brutal. Thornton led his fighters in strafing runs against the destroyer screen, suppressing anti-aircraft fire, forcing the gun crews to take cover while the dive bombers and torpedo planes made their attacks. The sky around Musashi was solid with flak, 25mm machine guns, 40mm Bofors, 5-inch dual-purpose guns, hundreds of guns firing thousands of rounds. The air was black with explosions. Thornton dove through it, guns blazing, tracers converging on a destroyer's superstructure. The 40mm guns went silent. The crew abandoned their positions. The dive bombers rolled in, 12 Helldivers, screaming down from 12,000 feet, releasing their 1,000-pound bombs at 2,000 feet. Bombs walked across Musashi's deck. Explosions bloomed. Armor plate buckled. Fire erupted. The torpedo planes came in low, 50 feet above the water. 12 Avengers, each carrying a Mark 13 torpedo. Thornton watched them run the gauntlet, flak bursting around them. One Avenger took a direct hit, exploded in a fireball. The pilot never had a chance. But 11 torpedoes dropped. 11 white wakes racing toward the massive battleship. Musashi tried to turn, 72,000 tons attempting evasive maneuvers. Too slow, too massive. The torpedoes hit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Geysers of water erupted along the battleship's hull. The ship shuddered, listed to port. But she stayed afloat. Japanese engineering, redundant compartments, damage control. The battleship absorbed punishment that would have sunk 3 cruisers. Thornton reformed his fighters, counted noses. 2 Hellcats missing, 1 Helldiver, 1 Avenger, 4 aircraft lost, 12 men. But Musashi was hurt. Listing, trailing oil, fires burning. The strike package turned east, headed back to the carriers. Thornton landed on Valiant at 1700 hours, climbed out of the cockpit, exhausted. His second combat mission of the day, his 213th overall. The deck officer was waiting. Commander, Message from Admiral Halsey. Well done on the Musashi strike. We're launching another strike at 1800. Can you fly it? Thornton looked at the deck officer, looked at the Hellcats being refueled, looked at the sun setting over the Philippine Sea. Yes, sir, I can fly it. But the 1800 strike was scrubbed. At 1930 hours, the report came through. Musashi had capsized and sunk, 19 torpedo hits, 17 bomb hits, the most heavily damaged warship to remain afloat for hours. But physics could not be denied. The flooding was too much, the list too severe. At 1930, the massive battleship rolled over, capsized, sank stern first into the Sibuyan Sea. 2,300 crew went down with her. The largest warship ever sunk by aircraft, Commander Marcus Thornton flew 2 more combat missions over the next 2 days. The Battle of Leyte Gulf raged across 400 miles of Philippine waters. The Battle of Surigao Strait, the Battle of Samar, the Battle of Cape Engano. When it ended on October 27, 1944, the Imperial Japanese Navy had lost 4 aircraft carriers, 3 battleships, 10 cruisers, 11 destroyers, 26 warships totaling 300,000 tons. The Japanese Navy was finished as an effective fighting force. Ensign Roy Whitmore was rescued 97 minutes after ditching. OS-2U Kingfisher float plane spotted his life raft, radioed his position. Destroyer USS Haywood pulled him from the water. Cold, exhausted, sunburned, but alive. He returned to USS Valiant 6 hours later, found Thornton in the ready room, embraced his commanding officer. Neither man spoke. What could be said that had not already been communicated by action? By loyalty, by the simple fact that they had both survived against mathematics that said they should not. On November 14, 1944, Commander Marcus Thornton flew his final combat mission. Air Group 12 returned to the United States for rest and refit. Thornton's final combat statistics: 212 combat missions, 34 confirmed aerial kills, 21 aircraft destroyed on the ground. United States Navy Ace of Aces, the only carrier-based pilot to achieve 9 kills in a single mission, a record that would never be broken. January 1945, the White House, Washington, D.C. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt sat in his wheelchair behind the resolute desk. Commander Marcus Thornton stood at attention. Behind him, his wife Catherine, his daughter Grace, Ensign Roy Whitmore, the other pilots of Air Group 12. The citation was read, "The President of the United States takes pleasure in presenting the Medal of Honor to Commander Marcus Thornton, United States Navy, for service, as set forth in the following: for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity, at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty, as Commander of Air Group 12 aboard USS Valiant during action against enemy Japanese forces on October 24, 1944. Intercepting a numerically superior force of hostile aircraft, Commander Thornton, with complete disregard for his own personal safety, led a bold attack against 60 enemy aircraft with only 1 wingman. During this action, he personally destroyed 9 enemy aircraft, completely disorganizing the enemy formation and forcing them to abandon their attack before a single aircraft could reach the American fleet. His superb airmanship, his courageous leadership, and his unwavering devotion to duty reflected great credit upon himself and were in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service. President Roosevelt pinned the Medal of Honor on Thornton's uniform. "Commander, what you did that day saved lives, saved ships, perhaps changed the course of the battle. The nation is grateful." Thornton stood at attention. "Mr. President, this medal belongs to 11 pilots who didn't come home. I'm just holding it for them." Roosevelt nodded. "Then hold it well, Commander. Hold it well." After the ceremony, Thornton found a quiet moment with Catherine and Grace. His daughter, 7 years old, now touched the Medal of Honor. "Daddy, does this mean you're a hero?" Thornton knelt down, looked into her eyes. "No, sweetheart, it means I did my job. The real heroes are the ones who didn't come home." Grace did not understand. She was too young, but someday she would. Catherine squeezed his hand. "I read your letter, the one you wrote that morning." Thornton looked at her. "I thought I threw that away. Chief Kowalski found the pieces, taped them together, mailed them to me. I'm sorry it was unfinished." "No." Catherine's eyes were bright. "It was perfect, because you came home to finish it yourself." The 1945-1964 Navy career. Thornton remained in the Navy. He served during the Korean War, not as a fighter pilot, those days were done, but as a staff officer, training, tactics development, passing knowledge to the next generation. He never flew combat again. On January 3, 1964, Captain Marcus Thornton retired from the United States Navy after 31 years of service. He moved to a small house in Virginia with Catherine. Grace was grown, married, 3 children of her own. Thornton lived quietly. He gave interviews occasionally, spoke at naval aviation events when asked, but he never sought attention, never claimed hero status. When reporters asked about October 24th, 1944, he always said the same thing. We did what needed to be done, nothing more. He never wrote a memoir, never sold the movie rights, never profited from the record he had set. When pressed, he would simply say, I was lucky that day. Luck and good training. That's all. Meanwhile, Ensign Roy Whitmore remained in the Navy after the war. He became a test pilot, flew experimental aircraft, pushed boundaries, retired as a commander in 1968, married his high school sweetheart, raised 4 children, moved back to Nebraska, helped run the family farm. But every October 24th, he would call Marcus Thornton, and they would talk. Not about the mission, not about the 9 kills or the 2 rounds or the engine dying. They would talk about the weather, about their families, about baseball, about nothing. But both men knew what the call meant. We survived. We made it. We're still here. June 30, 1996, Arlington, Virginia. Captain Marcus Thornton died at age 86. Natural causes, peacefully, in his sleep. Catherine was with him. Grace, the grandchildren. The funeral was held at Arlington National Cemetery. Full military honors. The flag was folded, presented to Catherine. Taps played across the Virginia hills. Roy Whitmore was there, 76 years old. Gray hair, wrinkled face, but still standing straight. He saluted the casket and whispered, "Thank you, Skipper." October 2024, National Naval Aviation Museum, Pensacola, Florida. The museum was quiet on a Wednesday afternoon. Tourists walked through exhibits. Children pressed their faces against display cases. Parents read placards. In the World War II gallery, a Grumman F-6F-5 Hellcat hung suspended from the ceiling. Bureau number 70143. Navy blue paint, white stars on wings, kill markings on the fuselage, 34 small Japanese flags. The plaque read F-6F-5 Hellcat Bureau. Bureau number 70143, flown by Commander Marcus Thornton. October 24th, 1944. Battle of Leyte Gulf. Commander Thornton destroyed 9 enemy aircraft in a single mission, an American record that has never been broken. He landed with 2 rounds of ammunition remaining and 0 fuel. His engine stopped the instant his tailhook engaged the arresting wire. This aircraft represents the pinnacle of naval aviation courage and skill. A young Navy lieutenant stood before the exhibit, 25 years old, fresh from flight training, dress whites, gold wings on his chest. He read the plaque, read it again, tried to imagine what it must have been like. 2 against 60, 9 kills, 2 bullets left. Incredible, he whispered. It was. The lieutenant turned. An elderly man in a wheelchair approached, 104 years old, thin, fragile, but his eyes were clear, sharp. A caregiver pushed the wheelchair. The old man wore a Navy blazer. Ribbons on his chest. Navy Cross, Purple Heart, Distinguished Flying Cross. The lieutenant recognized the face from photographs in the museum. "Sir, are you Commander Whitmore?" The old man smiled. "I am, though it's been 60 years since anyone called me Commander." The lieutenant's eyes widened. "You flew with him, with Commander Thornton. You were his wingman." "I was. On this mission, the 9 kills." "Yes." The lieutenant looked at the Hellcat, at the old man, back to the Hellcat. "What was it like?" Whitmore was quiet for a long moment. "Terrifying, exhilarating, the most intense 90 minutes of my life." "The plaque says 2 against 60. "That's correct." "How did you survive?" Whitmore looked at the Hellcat, at the kill markings, at the aircraft that had carried his commander through history. Skill, luck, and Marcus Thornton's leadership. He knew what needed to be done, and he did it, regardless of the quantity. "I read that you ran out of ammunition, that you stayed anyway." "I did." "Why?" Whitmore looked at the young lieutenant. "Because he was my commanding officer, my wingman, my friend. You don't leave your people, not ever." The lieutenant nodded slowly. "What was Commander Thornton like?" Whitmore's eyes grew distant, remembering. "Brave, yes, the bravest man I ever knew. Skilled, the best pilot I ever saw. But mostly he cared. He cared about every pilot under his command, about getting us home, about doing the right thing even when it was hard. Did he ever talk about the mission? No, never. Marcus didn't like talking about his accomplishments. He always said he was just doing his job, that any pilot would have done the same. But 9 kills in one mission, that's extraordinary. It was, but Marcus never saw it that way. He saw 11 empty chairs in the ready room, 11 pilots who didn't come home. That's what haunted him. Not the record, not the medal. The ones he couldn't save. The lieutenant was quiet. Whitmore continued. After the war, I asked him once. I said, Skipper, you broke the record. You were famous. Doesn't that mean something? And you know what he told me? What? He said, Roy records are just numbers. They don't mean anything unless they mattered to someone, unless they saved lives, unless they made a difference. That was Marcus. He didn't care about glory. He cared about the mission, about the men. The caregiver touched Whitmore's shoulder. Commander, we should go. You need your rest. Whitmore nodded, but he looked at the young lieutenant one more time. You're a pilot. Yes, sir. Just finished training, FA-18s. Good. The Navy needs good pilots, needs good leaders. Sir, if you don't mind me asking, what's the most important lesson Commander Thornton taught you? Whitmore smiled. Do what must be done, even when the math says it's impossible, even when the odds say you won't survive. If it's the right thing, if it will save lives, you do it, and you don't quit until it's done. The caregiver began pushing the wheelchair away. The lieutenant called after him. Sir, one more question. Whitmore stopped, turned. The engine. The plaque says it died the second he landed. Is that true? Whitmore's eyes grew bright. Yes, the instant the tailhook caught the wire. I saw the propeller stop, saw the cylinders lock. Marcus had run the engine on vapor for 5 minutes, maybe 7. If he had tried for our carrier, instead of diverting to Langley, he would have ditched 3/4 of a mile short, would have died in the water. So he made the right call. He always made the right call. That was Marcus Thornton. The caregiver pushed the wheelchair toward the exit. The young lieutenant watched them go. Then he turned back to the Hellcat, Bureau number 70143, the aircraft that had carried a legend. He reached out, almost touched the fuselage, stopped himself. This was not just a machine. This was history. This was proof that one person, one pilot with courage and skill and determination could change the course of a battle, could save lives, could make history. The lieutenant stood there for a long time, looking at the 34 kill markings, thinking about 2 rounds of ammunition remaining, thinking about an engine that died the second the tailhook caught, thinking about Commander Marcus Thornton, and wondering if this young lieutenant, fresh from training, would ever face a moment like that. A moment where everything was on the line, where the math said it was impossible, where duty demanded the ultimate sacrifice, and wondering if when that moment came, he would have the courage to do what Marcus Thornton did, to fight, to lead, to survive by inches, to come home. Epilogue: Commander Marcus Thornton is buried at Arlington National Cemetery. Section 60, Row E, Grave, 1847. The headstone reads, Marcus J. Thornton, Captain United States Navy, World War II, Korea. Medal of Honor, 1910. 1996, beloved husband, devoted father, ace of aces. Next to him, Catherine, who died in 2003 at age 91. Roy Whitmore died in March 2024 at age 104. He was buried with full military honors in Nebraska. His last words to his children, tell them I flew with the best. Tell them I flew with Marcus Thornton. In the National Naval Aviation Museum, the Hellcat still hangs. Bureau number 70143. The kill markings still visible. 34 Japanese flags. The museum estimates 10,000 visitors see the aircraft each month, 120,000 per year. Most walk past, glance, keep moving. But some stop, some read the plaque, some stand there for long minutes, looking at the aircraft, imagining the mission, understanding what it meant. 2 Hellcats against 60 Japanese aircraft. 9 kills in 97 minutes. 2 rounds of ammunition remaining. Engine died the second he landed. American single mission record. 80 years later, it still stands. And Commander Marcus Thornton's legacy lives on. Not in the medal, not in the record, but in the simple truth that when everything was on the line, when the odds were impossible, one pilot did what needed to be done and came home. Final words. If this story moved you, share it. Share it with your family, your friends, your children. Share it so that Marcus Thornton and Roy Whitmore and the 11 pilots who didn't come home are not forgotten. Share it so that courage, real courage, the kind that doesn't seek glory but simply does what's right, is remembered. Share it so that the next generation knows what these men did, what they sacrificed, what they proved. That when duty calls, you answer. That when your brothers need you, you stand. That when the math says it's impossible, you do it anyway. Commander Marcus Thornton proved that on October 24th, 1944. 2 rounds left. Engine died the second he landed. American record, 80 years. Still standing, still inspiring, still remembered. Honor their memory, tell their story, never forget.